Okay, I have James Donahue here with me. James is a retired teacher and a school administrator. He's also been town recreation director for the past 35 years. And if there's anybody in town that does not know who he is, they've probably seen him walking around, running, jogging, biking around town. So I brought him in here to ask him some questions about his physical lifestyle. First thing, James, why did you choose to be physically active?
Well, it starts young. I grew up in a family. I got 6 siblings, and everyone was involved in every kind of athletic event there was. My father was athletic. The one thing is, it's a community that we lived in and grew up in, as Ryan did too. It is pretty much athletically motivated crowd, so just to stay along with the crowd, physical activity, athletics is just what you participate in.
Okay, so why did you start, aside from maybe like a team sport or something, why did you choose as an individual to stay physically active and exercise on your own?
Well, the old saying was you got sound mind, sound body, sound body, sound mind. So if you keep yourself physically active, mentally you'll be the same way. And the thing for me was I got involved with kids early, whether it was recreation director, coaching after my playing days were over. And the one thing that you want to do is, if you're going to be a coach, as far as I'm concerned, you still got to be able to produce, you still got to be able to play, you got to be active. Kids want to see that. They don't want a coach who's getting to sit in the sidelines and not do anything, not be able to show them how to do it. So for me, to be able to participate at a level above what they're doing is pretty important.
All right, what kind of exercise program do you have, and how does it differ from winter to summer and spring, fall, whatever?
Well, primarily I'm a runner, biker. I swim, lift, just the general athletics I think most people are involved in because they're the easiest ones to do. I go year round. My typical thing before I had an injury was I would probably run 35 miles a week, bike 120, lift an hour every day, and then as you get older, injuries start to set in, I do that all summer, spring, fall. Winter changes because up here in the North Country the weather's terrible, so I still run. It's difficult. I do it outside. I'm not one who can be confined to a gym. I got to be outside in the fresh air, and just to see cars go past, people go past. It takes your mind off what you're doing. So other than maybe not riding the bike in the winter, I pretty much stick to the same thing. I will run every day, I'll lift every day, and so it doesn't vary a whole lot, but you'll see very few people out running when I'm out running.
So you talk about having a sound mind, sound body. How has it actually impacted your life over the years?
Okay, by being athletically active, I'm one who travels a lot, all the time, and I think having a sound body and being in some kind of physical shape allows you to do things that you want to do. Too many people I see and hear go on vacation, they go all these extravagant places and can't get involved in most of the stuff that's going on, whether it's going to see upper levels of buildings, whether it's hiking mountains, whether it's just running across the Brooklyn Bridge. People just can't do it. They can say they've been there but can't do it. So the one thing I want to do, if I'm going to go on vacation, I'm going to see these places, I want to see them, I'm going to get involved and do everything I can possibly do.
Okay. Now that you're retired, you have a lot of time to travel and do all this, and you traveled before. When you were a teacher and an administrator, when and how did you find time to exercise?
Priority. When I was a teacher, it was okay because for the most part, when I was teaching after school, I'd be coaching soccer, basketball, or baseball, so I could time my workouts with the kids. We'd go to the weight room, we'd run after, and sometimes after practice I'd come home and do whatever I'd have to pick up. Once I became administrator, it got a little difficult because my day was, you never knew what your day was. So I would shift. I would lift in the morning before I'd go to work, and I would try to get something physical running. I lived probably 30 miles from where I worked, so often I would run in between, whether after school was over and had a meeting after or a game to stay for, so I would work on in between. But it was a priority and it's something I had to get done.
What would you say is your greatest physical feat?
I would say climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, and we did a 3-day trek, and it was interesting.
Did you do any training for that?
It's funny, there was 12 of us. A buddy of mine's a Navy SEAL, so he does all these wacky things and always ropes me in. And there was 12 guys, 12 people. And most were marathon runners, real dedicated runners. I'm not a marathon runner, I'm a guy who runs. I'm not really a runner. So I actually did nothing other than what I normally do. So the discussion was all the way over, who's not gonna make it. So I didn't know any of these people. I didn't know the other 10 people, except for my buddy who's a SEAL. And I was the one pointed to as, oh, you're never going to make it. You didn't come with us. You didn't train. You didn't do this. Well, I was the first one up the mountain. I think 7 of them didn't make it. I was the first one up and the first one down. So I think my constant training, what I do on a regular basis, was much more advantageous to me rather than these people who tried to push to the end to get ready for this big event. So That's what I mean. If you get a regular routine and stick to it, you're a lot better off.
All right, so you've talked about how much you've been active over these years, and people that are, in athletic events and exercise regularly are more susceptible to injury. You talk about having an injury. What kind of injury did you have?
I blew out a knee. Well, I blew it out. ACL, meniscus, probably 3 years ago. And that was from the doctor's diagnosis. It was overuse, which is probably it. And my other thing was I've torn a rotator cuff and hurt my other shoulder, and that was from lifting, and probably improperly, because I did that at the age of 50. At the age of 50, I weighed 147 pounds, and I could bench press 300. It didn't last long. It may have been a couple times, and that's when my shoulder went, which really caused problems. So now I've taken my routine, stuck to the routine, but adapted quite a bit. I no longer touch weight even close to that. I no longer run as much as I used to or bike as much, but I still do a lot. I mean, I'm still benching well over 200 and still run 5 days a week instead of 7. I try to bike I will bike every day now. So you take those injuries and you adapt from there. You can't change your complete routine, but you've got to stay somewhat consistent.
Are there any other activities or exercise programs that you've used over the years to adapt to your injury as well?
I would say, yeah. I started kayaking a few years ago. I actually probably play a little more golf, the more sedentary sports, so not as active as the other ones. Again, I do the other ones, not to the excess that I did before. I was excessive. So it's not the excess I was before. Now I've taken lessons from other people who in the long run appeared to be much better and much more of a core workout. So I think that's helped me a lot.
How have you seen the fitness world outside of your own physical regimen? How have you seen it evolve?
Well, it's funny. When I was a kid, of course, you can only do what you had available. You had available roads, so you could run. You had available, everybody had weights, so you could lift. And that's primarily what you did. And even when I was in school, of course, we had a phys ed instructor, who I think you had the same one. Do you have Stan? No. Okay. We had a phys ed instructor who played at one point for Green Bay Packers. So his whole thing was running and lifting. And that's kind of what we did. But as you got older, especially when I took over teaching and was an administrator, I watched the phys ed programs evolve themselves, going from running, lifting primarily, playing basketball, softball, football, to dance, to rock climbing. There's quite a few other different things that in the long run are much better for people and develop more of the body. So you've watched it change, the dance, the aerobics, the Zumba, so things have changed.
What are some things that you think prohibit people this age and even older seniors that keep them from being physically active?
I think it's just lack of interest. They get a little ache and pain and it sets them back. And one thing you have to do is aches and pains are going to come, whether you're 20 years old or whether you're 60 years old. But you got to learn to adapt and push through it. I see too often, because I travel a lot, and when you travel now, a lot of retired people, a lot of people over 55, over 60, and who are unable to do a lot of programs that are presented in some kind of a travel routine. They can't do the hiking, they can't do the climbing, and they won't. And it's because for the most part, I think it's because they've just let themselves go, get to a certain point, and they don't realize the benefits of staying physically fit. And it's key to enjoy your life throughout.
All right, so with that being said, as you get older and continue to stay physically active, would you rather wear out or rust out?
Oh, I'm going down fighting. I am absolutely. I will be working out to the very end. There's no way I'm going to sit around and just let things happen, because you just miss too much of what's going on. Even to get out and walk. I look at my mother, 87 years old. She still goes out and walks every morning and does all her own thing, lives on her own. She can mow her lawn, and your grandfather and grandparents are the same way. So staying physically active is key, and it keeps them sharp too.
All right, thanks, James.
Thank you.
I think James made some great points about aging and staying active, and despite injury and aches and pains, it's always possible to adapt. And instead of giving up, stay active to improve your quality of life. Thank you.